Hey there, YouTube types. There's a shit show coming to the US, so it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a massive ice storm in the around the Gulf states, the southern states. There's some snow in the forecast for Georgia and things. So you get cold ground, you get cold air from Canada, you get warm, moist air from the Gulf and the Pacific, and you get a shit show, a big time shit show. So yeah, it's gonna be a disaster probably in portions of the country because they can't handle ice storms. Like nobody can handle ice storms, and it's gonna be one of these ones that has ice accumulation. So tell your friends and foes about the stream by pressing the share button. We'll show what the forecasts are like, and of course, we'll cover things like space weather as well. Also, press like and comment. If you're new to the channel, make sure you press subscribe. Otherwise, you may not see the videos on your YouTube feed. So I'm going to be nearby here, and we're going to start talking about space and Earth weather data in just a minute. But I'm recovering from a 3-mile hike. So I'm consuming some calories, some energy drinks, if you will. So just a moment. And which energy drinks they are? Well, they're classified. So we athletes, we don't always divulge what it is we're consuming. I won't endorse a thing that's still under testing. So if it turns out to be a good test, I'll divulge it on the channel. Maybe I'll do a review. So we've already got snow here in the Lehigh Valley, and there's a lot of talk of another foot of snow, but there's a possibility that we'll get nothing or 1 to 2 inches. So the forecasts should be up to date enough now that we'll feel confident putting up 72-hour forecasts, and they'll be pretty accurate for the mid-Atlantic states. So I'm interested to see what it's going to show, and I'm all ready to be snowed in if necessary. So, that's the thing about being stranded somewhere. What you want to do is be prepared, right? In sports, preparation is like 99% of performance. If you're ready to go the day of the event, you're ready to go. If not, you're toast. You know what I mean? Like a week before the event, if it requires a lot of training, is already far too late to prepare, right? Because it takes a long time. And thanks for leaving comments. Those of you who have, Con Zucker, hi, and greetings from Croatia to Sinisa Fistrik 4020. Nice. Con, located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, so kind of near New Jersey. We're like 20 miles from New Jersey. And thanks for leaving a comment, Lily J-J. All right, so yeah, just a minute here, folks. Again, press the share button. If you're new, press subscribe. And what up, Canadian Cody Hickey 9420? Holla. All right, just a minute, folks. I'm finishing my last energy drink here. Some energy drinks are best chugged, and let me give you a quick endorsement. I will endorse a thing. It's just not going to be this energy drink. Okay, so L-lysine. It's an essential amino acid. Your body does not make this amino acid by itself. It is the building block for hormones, enzymes, and antibodies. So it's super important. I noticed it in prenatal vitamins back in the early 2000s. And it's very good. It's good for your skin. It's good for recovery, the generation of collagen. It does a lot of things. Some say it's effective against viruses. So try L-lysine. It's cheap. No doctor's going to tell you to take it because there's no kickbacks for it. It costs like $6 for a bottle of L-lysine, 500 milligrams. So maybe try it out. I'm not making any medical claims about it. This information is for novelty and informational purposes only. But frankly, I'm a lab and I do lots of testing. That's how you get fast. You do some testing. Since you're a lab, get in the lab and do some testing. And figure out what works and what doesn't work. Because it is different for different people most of the time. All right, again, so we've got some major Earth weather on the way. We had some major space weather. That's now subsided mostly. There's still probably some high energy protons orbiting Earth's magnetic field lines, but a little bit of radiation for those flying over Antarctica isn't really a big deal. And I'm going to get to some other comments here in a moment, but let me finish my energy drink. We'll get to the studio. We'll show you the data, the forecasts, and so forth. And it'll be a delight. It's always a delight to have you. Thanks to everybody who's left comments. That's crisp, baby. All right, so let us know what your favorite energy drink is. Right now, I'll let you know that we drink Celsius. We do drink Celsius here at the Smash News Network, Least Busted Neighbor News. So if you want to try that one out, we've tried it. It's tested and approved. Now keep in mind that's like a low carb energy drink. It's got almost no calories in it. So yes, it is a little bit weird to have an energy drink with no sugar, obviously, since sugar equals energy, and that's what your cells use, only glucose as energy. But let's save the nutritional stuff for another stream, since we have such a major weather scenario playing out, something I'm going to be doing with the new band that we've formed, tsh0w.com. Yeah. I'm a classically trained guitarist and a singer and a songwriter and a music producer, if you didn't know. Golden Cat Productions. You can find us all over the internet. Golden Cat Productions. It's on Spotify. It's on iTunes. It's on all, a dozen different streaming services and so forth. It's also on YouTube Music. Golden Cat Productions. But yeah, there's a new band that we formed. It's a 3-piece called tsh0w, Simulcome, tsh0w.com. You'll be able to enjoy great tracks like Boat Explosion, Dumpster Fire Trainwreck, don't forget Imbecile, and Deadbeat World. Deadbeat World that's going to be the epic jam on the next LP. Deadbeat World. All right, so let's bring up some facts and figures here. I'll open some browsers. Thanks to everybody who's left comments. I will address the comments that are worthy of being addressed momentarily. So we're going to start things out by looking at the closest star, which is the most interesting star at which to gaze. And yes, I am aware that I look like a joule. So if you're wondering what a joule is it's spelled Z-H-O-U-L, and that means that I'm part zombie and part ghoul. So I am well aware of this. If you think you're gonna offend me with these comments, my skin is, shall we say, thick. As somebody who learned to skateboard in 3rd grade, street skating through elementary school, I am somebody with a thick skin. So I'll bet I've fallen down more times than you have. It's tens of thousands of times that I've fallen down. And of course, for those of you who have fallen down many, many times, the important thing is the getting back up, not how much damage is sustained on the way down. So, and I'll even put your comments on the screen here. Whoops. So here is, here's the closest star. There we go. It's El Sol. And you're looking at ionized helium there. So that is the GOES 19 304 angstroms. Massive solar coronal prominence happening here, as well as a CME popping off right out of that southeastern limb region. Also another one up here at the northeastern limb region, another one here at the northwestern limb region. It's, yeah, there's quite a bit of action happening here, despite the most recent solar storm subsiding for the most part. And we'll show you which parts have and have not subsided. Anyway, here are your chats. Once again, thanks to everybody who's typed something. So QERDSL says, where's the baby oil? The baby oil's in the bedroom. And if you're wondering if it's laced with fentanyl or Ruhiptol, well, that's for me to know and you to never find out because you're not invited. Let's see. Jesus Lopez says he's on K2. Ew. I think that's a synthetic cannabinoid. And all I can say to that is, ew. Meth water, ew. So yeah, and just so you know, just a quick reminder, folks, there is no AI slop trash junkware on this channel. So we don't put up videos that are written by AI. AI doesn't make the thumbnails. AI doesn't write the titles. AI doesn't write the content because AI has no eye. So just so you're aware, just a quick reminder about, quote, AI, the biggest fraud of the 21st century. All right. Yeah, AI, a solution searching for a problem. Do I follow NHL? No, I don't. However, I root for Philly teams, so the Philadelphia Flyers. All right. So anyway, that's the past like 12 hours, I think it is, right? 12 hours. Yeah, that's the past 12 hours there of action on the closest star in terms of ionized helium. This is extreme ultraviolet light, part of the ultraviolet light spectrum. Higher frequency than visible light, lower frequency than something like X-rays. And let's move on to some more space weather stats here. X-rays would be an important one. And there is the GOES X-ray flux. Here's the past 24 since we do daily space weather content. And only C-class intensifications here over the past 24 hours. So no major solar flares. Here's the latest imagery from SDO. Fantastic view of that prominence down there. And you can see the size of that thing compared to the Earth. It's pretty decent sized solar prominence. Stars, when they do things, it's pretty massive. Anyway, there's the 4-bush minimum that we forecasted from the incoming coronal mass ejection impact. This big dip in cosmic ray flux, that's caused by solar plasma. Basically creating additional magnetic shielding for the Earth. So yeah, a big dip in cosmic ray flux. Lowest cosmic ray flux right now since 2004. As you can see on this OLU neutron monitor chart. Let's check and see the latest. What did I do? Oh my God. See if there are any new CMEs on the way. At least let's see what you Redding thinks about it. And all we have is a coronal hole high-speed stream on the way to Earth at the moment. So wait a minute. Yep, there's the big impact of the 20th and 21st. But beyond that, space weather is now pretty calm. Now we can get poised for some Earth weather. But let's cover the space weather stats so folks who are, especially those of you who are new to space weather, can sort of understand what's up with it. So yeah, at the moment here, things are pretty calm. Things are still a little bit on the high speed side. This is a coronal hole high speed stream that's already showing up here. We see a solar wind velocity of 532 kilometers per second. That's this yellow bar. This orange bar is a solar wind density. That's 0.5 protons per cubic centimeter, about 1/4 of the molecular density at sea level. And then up here we have probably the most important bar of all is the BTBZ. That's a total field for the interplanetary magnetic field at L1 of 9 nanotesla with a BZ of +2. When I say L1, I'm talking about this Lagrangian point right here. That is where the ACE and Discover are orbiting that gravitational equilibrium point and measuring the solar wind well outside of Earth's magnetosphere, which looks a little bit like this. So this is the velocity. It's showing low velocity in red and high velocity in blue. This is what happens when you see a big variation in the solar wind. Also, it does show the acceleration of the particles leaving the Earth system in the magnetotail side. So the sun will be off to your left. On the left, we got the equatorial plane. On the right, we got the meridional plane. Earth from the side and Earth from the polar view. Here's the density. This shows high density, high protons per cubic centimeter in dark blue and low density in white. That shows you where the plasma is located around the Earth system. That is what Earth's magnetosphere likely looks like. Keep in mind, this is a model based on the Space Weather Modeling Framework. You can read all about it if you click the Details tab on this Space Weather Prediction Center page, part of the NOAA web ring. And this one is probably the best one to look at if you wanted to look at only one of these geospace magnetosphere movies. This one is the magnetohydrodynamic pressure. So that is what the magnetohydrodynamic pressure looks like. The units that are used for that are nanopascals. So that's this is, if you had to look at only one magnetosphere movie, this would be the one that I would look at. You can see that high pressure zone there on the magnetotail side right over here. That is where particles have to decide if they're going to stay in the Earth system or if they're going to be reintegrated into the outside solar wind. They have to decide. And when I say decide, I mean that figuratively, not literally. They're not conscious, that we're aware of. Next, the GOES magnetometers here, and you can see things are returning to normal. Here's the major CME impact. And it wasn't really that big of a deal. It did have quite a high magnetic field, but because of the positive BZ that was predominant during this solar storm, we didn't see that much induced current. So we would have seen aurora much farther south had that been a negative BZ, but it was predominantly a positive BZ. As far as NOAA's forecast for additional space weather, forecasting a little bit of geomagnetic unrest today. basically because of coronal hole high-speed streams and possible additional CME impacts. But I'm not exactly sure what's up with that. And I'm going to get to your chats here. I do see comments coming through. We will get to those in a minute. First, some more space weather data. An important feature is the 10.7 centimeter radial flux. This is solon.info. Solon.info/solar is the homepage there. And the 10.7 is, it's back up again. Look at that. That's interesting. So I suspect we have new sunspots rose, or we've got sunspots evolving and becoming more active. So 10.7 centimeter radial flux here, almost at 190 solar flux units there. 188 solar flux units is the radial flux. Sunspot number is up a little bit from yesterday as well to 160, 170, 178 sunspots. So a little bit of a rise there in sunspot number as reported by Royal Observatory Belgium. Let's look for additional Earth-directed CMEs, especially. That's coronal mass ejections. Don't get them conflated with solar flares, folks. They are separate phenomena. And we do see some ejecta there. So let's consult stereo A to see if it is indeed earthly directed. So now we're on the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center page. You click Browse, you click Solar, you click Stereo Ahead Coronagraph 2 Space Weather Beacon. And if you see ejecta headed out to the left of this frame, that would be earthly directed. So let's see what we've got. So there's one off to the north. That'll miss Earth. That is from midday yesterday. Now we've got a bunch of missing data. And then another ejection off to the north. So I don't think there is any new coronal mass ejection material headed toward Earth. But there is a huge gap in the data there. So we'll also look at additional instruments here to try to figure out if there is indeed another CME on the way. But before we do that, let's just take a look at the locations of planets. That is theplanetstoday.com. That's where things are located in the solar system. And just keep in mind, this is not to scale. It's not even close to scale. Planets are really far apart from each other. The ghost protons flux here. The proton storm has subsided. So there you go. There's the proton flux now dropping down below warning levels. You can see we had some pretty decent spikes here. That was associated with that X-class solar flare, actually. That sent high energy protons all throughout the solar system, including into Earth's magnetic field lines. Once again, we only had C-class intensifications. Oh, there was an M-class flare yesterday. But yeah, for the past 24 hours, only C-class intensifications. Let's take a look at the heliosphere next. Earth is in a South Pole magnetic sector, as we talked about yesterday. And if you want to know where stereo A and B are located, here's stereo A. So you can see what the perspective would be like. A CME headed toward Earth would have to be off to stereo A's left if you're looking toward the sun from there. And here's stereo B located behind the Earth. These spacecraft and Earth orbit in this direction toward the western limb of the sun. And here is our coronal hole line of sight plot. So we'll just show today's images. We see South Pole coronal holes to match the magnetic sector. No surprise there. There they are, shown in red. And those will provide a high-speed solar wind in a couple of days. Starting with a density spike. All right, let me get to your chats here. I'll leave that on the screen for a minute, since that is sort of the next space weather feature that's going to provide some Earth-based intensifications. The real Dingus MD says, I got a ham license mainly to learn about stuff like this. That's cool. Getting a ham license is pretty good prepping form, I would say. By the way, don't forget to sort your chat to say live chat so all messages are visible. Otherwise, YouTube will unnecessarily correlate. I'm sorry, not correlate. YouTube will unnecessarily curate your chat, and you might not see some of the comments. Social 410 says, do you do drugs? If so, can you tell me where I can get it to? Yeah, I do drugs. I'm drinking coffee right now. So caffeine, that's a drug. So yeah. Jesus Lopez says, what did Diddy do to you? Well, Diddy made a bunch of shitty music. So that's a thing he did. He made a bunch of tracks that are unlistenable and a bunch of albums that are trash. So that's what Diddy did to me. He polluted the airwaves with some crap, R&B, rap and bullshit. All right, let's see. Let me see. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to press subscribe, press like, and most importantly, press share. In fact, let me include the homepage so you folks, you kind folks, can see our social media. Keep in mind, the best place to communicate with the channel is not on the YouTube comments, but it's on Discord. You want to be invited? Well, there's a link on the homepage, a permanent invite link to the Discord chat. As well as links to all of our social media, the merch shop, and more on the homepage. So please visit that. As there's a lot of crap on the internet, we don't put up any crap on the internet. We only put up interesting and useful. We are anti the crap because, good God, is there a lot of crap. So much crap, so much AI slop. It's huge portions of the internet need to be erased and forgotten forever and not a part of history in any way. Like, what is up with these videos and images? Like, get that shit off of my feed forever. Forever. To quote Wet Leg, get lost forever. AI, a house of cards propped up by less than cards, only fraud. Trump caved on Greenland, says palindromistic. What about Solar Storm the other night? Yeah, that's what the channel talks about. That's what the channel's subscribership was built on. Space weather, facts. Real Dingus MD says, no emojis in chat. What are you talking about, dude? You don't make the rules here. So emojis are welcome in chat. In fact, we actually welcome all speech. So since we're free speech absolutists on the channel, we encourage all legal speech. All legal speech is encouraged. Just keep in mind, you may be lambasted in the chat because if you say something stupid, people might say you're stupid. And if they're right, just keep in mind that while there are no stupid questions, and while ignorance is the root of all knowledge, there are stupid people. Trump caved on Greenland. Oh man, I was hoping that Trump would erect a giant golden T in the middle of the ice sheet and build a golf course on the ice sheet. I want to golf on an ice sheet with orange golf balls. And not only that, when is Trump Water Company going to exist? Trump's ice sheet water? I mean, what could be better than Trump branded ice sheet water? Let's melt the Greenland ice sheet and bottle it. Like, Greenland looks delicious. I want to drink the ice sheet. So, dear Donald Trump, let's don't cave on Greenland. I want to drink that ice sheet. So let's make it happen. Let's maybe create a cycling team for Trump Water. Because there you go. There's a business opportunity for Greenland. Let's make it profitable, shall we? Okay. Pardon my sarcasm. It's biting. Pardon my biting sarcasm. That is a lot of emojis there, palindromistic. Please don't spam. Who is the ruler? I don't know, but it's not the tape measure. The tape measure is not the ruler. Planets like to fuck off from each other. I know. They're really far away from each other all the time. And they barely affect each other in any measurable fashion. Did y'all hear about OpenAI? Dr. Dr. Drispo says, did y'all hear about OpenAI? They said they'd be bankrupt by 2027. Well, could that be because Sam Altman is just another fraud like all of the other wizards of AI? Let me know when the wizards of AI are able to create a bug-free smartphone app. Because at some point after I see a fucking bug-free smartphone app, I'll expect the AI-induced utopia to come next. But we're going to need some fucking bug-free smartphone apps first. We currently have zero. So, I mean, I don't use the Apple Store, but at the Microsoft Store and the Google Store, there is no bug-free app. They're all junkware, all of them. Software is completely fucking broken, and I find it unacceptable. So all of the wizards of AI, the pioneers like Sundar Pichai and Tim Cook and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, oh my gosh. Meta has wasted $600 billion on AI compute. A solution looking for a problem. The problem is AI slop on the fucking internet. Erase it all forever, please, today. What a piece of shit. And thanks for commenting. Bruce Minas 259. How's Brazil treating you? The Real Dingus MD says, I hate how much AI slop has become the internet. The bubble cannot burst soon enough. I know. Nobody wants this shit. Nobody cares about the compute. Nobody's willing to pay higher electricity bills so we can fucking solve a problem that doesn't exist with a solution that human thought could survive on 4 calories. AI requires 60 trillion megawatts. Fuck off with your fucking AI. What a fucking piece of shit. And Sam Altman and these other frauds like Sundar Pichai, who are like, they think emergent behavior is gonna magically become artificial general intelligence. They're fucking idiots. Like, they don't know how to code. What are you talking about? A ghost in the machine is not AGI. It's a glitch, a bug. It's a failure of your code. Like, what the emergent behavior, for those of you who actually know how to fucking write code, emergent behavior is when your code is so complex that it does shit that you didn't want it to do. It's otherwise known as a ghost in the machine. Look it up. The problem is, as soon as that happens, you have garbage in and garbage out. because now the emergent behavior is putting garbage into your code. And guess what comes out of your code? The output is garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. And that's what it is. AI is garbage, junkware, trash slop that does nothing but waste video cards, time, energy, space, and money. Go away. Like, it's not efficient. It's crap. Anyway, that rant is now over, and let's get back to space weather. Let's look at the magnetograms, since it looks like the sun has provided some more sunspots, or maybe some more complex sunspots. So here's tsh0w, Spain, the ground-based magnetogram from there. And yeah, I mean, we still do have, let's bring up the last image. We do still have some active regions here. We don't want to spend too much time on this, but there are still potential flaring zones here. There are high magnetic shear up here. This is my favorite spot. I don't know. These are all pretty decent. Pretty likely at producing large solar flares. Let's see. We're still tsh0w. Let's bring up the newest and look at it through red light. There you go. There's red light. That's what about 180 sunspots look like. So here's a new region that just grew right up here. And that is looking exciting. So let's look at the magnetic shear there. Yeah. So that's another potential flaring region. That's at least a beta gamma class, if not a beta gamma delta class sunspot group. So this might be a great indication of how you don't need to see a large sunspot group to see large solar flares. So eyes on this group up here in the northern hemisphere. The farthest to the east sunspot group right there by my pointer. That is one to watch. Don't be surprised to see some flares come out of that, as that grew rapidly, which means it's probably kind of unstable. Anyway, here are the latest from the hydrogen alpha imagery. This is red light, by the way. This is hydrogen alpha. And quite a few plasma filaments here on the Earth's side. This one here either collapsed or blasted off. Check it out. This one right here, you see how it's there and then it's gone? So this one could be headed toward Earth. That is very much in the center of the solar disk. If that did eject, and it looks like it did, that will produce another minor impact on Earth. Expect that to arrive sometime around the 24th, January 24th. It won't be a major impact, but don't be surprised to see, like late in the day on the 24th or early in the day on the 25th, a CME impact from this filament ejection. I don't care if stereo A shows it or not. It's not showing the data from that time. So yeah, that's probably another Earth-directed CME, but it's a minor impact, nothing like that most recent solar storm. By the way, follow us on X if you want to name plasma filaments after living humans. Like this one down here might deserve a name, right? That's a pretty dense filament. This one up here, there are some filaments that could be named after living humans, so do it over on X, otherwise known as Twitter to sane people who understand branding, x.com/smashomash. Just follow the hashtag name that filament and tag me at smashomash. Remember, folks, when you're on Twitter, one of the censorship capitals of the world, along with YouTube Meta platforms, when you're on Twitter, make sure you don't include more than one tag or more than one hashtag in a tweet, because if you do, your tweet will be deboosted. The information on what gets tweets boosted and deboosted has been released, by the way. If you want to know about that, I think I shared it on Twitter. The electron storm continues here, as you can see, with the GOES electron flux measured at the F layer by the GOES 19 and GOES 18 satellites. The F layer is located, well, right there. between 1 and 300 kilometers, depending on day or nighttime. Here is the total electron content forecast. This is where you can expect your GPS errors to be most significant. I'm going to let that play for a minute, and I'll be right back. All right, and we are back. So that's a total electron content forecast. Your GPS satellite has to communicate through free electrons, which causes signal refraction. Now, there is radio blackout still occurring at the southern polar region, less so at the northern, although there is still some limited radio blackout at the north polar region. That's that proton event that we talked about earlier, the GOES proton flux. You can monitor this as well, but you can see warning levels here. While they have subsided, we still do have full radio blackouts in the southern polar regions. There's a quick view of the ionosphere. That's the raw vibrational frequency. Here's the anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. So there's the raw data. There's the anomaly. And things are returning to normal here following that major geomagnetic storm with multiple instances of KP8, a G4 class geomagnetic storm event. Let's transition, since we are getting down to the nitty-gritty of it, to Earth weather. Yeah, Earth weather. And we'll put your chats back on the screen here for a brief moment. If you feel like you'd like to put a comment up, now would be a good time, because it may even appear on screen. So there's the sunrise over the lovely Atlantic Ocean. There are your comments. Optimistic Taco Truck BP4E says, in all caps, do you think Trump backed down from Greenland acquisition, or do you think he got what he wanted by getting European nations to step up their own defense? I don't know, and I don't care, because I'm so checked out of politics. I don't know or care. Let's see, what else do we have here? Sleestack69 says, stay out of Greenland, Murica. Pussyfoot Production 775 says, Greenland is as good as ours. It's the whole thing is adorable. More cultists exist on planet Earth now than have ever existed in the history of mankind. More cultists today than ever before. Here is our merch shop, by the way. If you haven't seen it, SNN, Least Busted Name in News, sells merch. So don't be a bunch of dumb fucks and check out the merch shop. It's linked below the video. Maybe get yourself some fantastic SNN logos to put on your gear. Some high quality stickers and all kinds of SNN logos available. SNN, Least Busted Name in News. Propaganda and nonsense-free space weather coverage. Next, we'll show Earth's water vapor map here, at least part of Earth's water vapor map. There's the U.S. And here it comes. It's coming. Just like the title says, folks, it's a shit show. There is a shit show on the way. And there are going to be massive power outages. There's going to be lines down and all kinds of disastrous things going on. So whether you get a foot of snow or not, parts of the country are going to be jacked up, as if they aren't already jacked up enough by the fucked economy. Yeah, the fucked economy. The economy is, let me just reiterate that, fucked. If you weren't aware, silver is at $95 an ounce or something like that. Silver, 90. You think that's good for the US dollar, folks? Of course, it's not good for the euro or the yuan or the yen or the pound or anything else. You think $95 silver is good for the dollar, folks? Let us know in the comments what you think. Please identify yourself if you're a cultist who is economically illiterate as well. If you think the U.S. economy is thriving and the U.S. dollar is strong, let us know. Let us know in the comments. Anyway, here's a U.S. Doppler radar picture, and we're not going to worry too much about that right now. But as you can see, precipitation already spreading across the southeastern U.S. there. So let's take a look at some things. First of all, temperature. So here's a nice temperature map. And right now, the air temperature is still like in the 40s down here and so on. But check it out. Nashville is 32 degrees, folks. 32 degrees at Nashville. Yeah, Nashville. You gotta reduce the pronunciation, the enunciation of that, the I and Ville. You gotta say Nashville. Otherwise, people from Nashville will know you're not from Nashville. All right, so here's a pressure map. And there is an Eastern Canadian low that is involved with things, but we've got high pressure here largely dominating the North American region. You can see the North Atlantic here, a huge pressure gradient here in the North Atlantic with lows around Greenland and anticyclones here in between the Azores and Bermuda. That clockwise rotation there, that is a high pressure zone known as an anticyclone. Northern hemisphere anticyclones rotate clockwise, as you can see. Now, we're not going to worry about lightning today. That's more of a summertime coverage. But son of a bit turn is the U.S. going to get kaplastered. So let's bring up some forecast models from tropicaltidbits.com. All right, so we're going to show total accumulated precip first based on the 72-hour GFS model. All right? If it's not all right, too bad. This is a meteorological dictatorship. Hopefully it's not going to become a meteorological dictatorship. Now, so there are the totals. We'll move over so that the precipitation depth in inches can be shown. So there's a 72-hour forecast. You're going to see some heavy precipitation starting in Texas, right in central Texas, where you're going to see like 3+ inches of rain in large swaths. Also Mexico, but we're talking U.S. weather here. Texas will see some isolated areas there with as high as 4+ inches of the wet stuff. Now, let's look at total positive snow depth change before we get back to your comments. If you're new to the channel, press subscribe. Don't forget to visit the links. And of course, there is a link to the homepage there pinned to this chat. And there you go. Look at the snow totals. That is a shit show. Because these areas here, like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana, They're not used to snow like that. That is a lot of snow. Now, the jet stream is going to determine whether this snow makes it to eastern Pennsylvania. So we're located right about here. See this little bend in New Jersey? We're just to the west of that. So right about there is where we're located. That's Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. The valley of the Lehigh River. And look, the forecasts are varying here. Tomorrow we're going to cover a forecast that includes enough time to actually show the mid-Atlantic states, because this is sort of before it's expected to hit in full. But hereby, according to this GFS 72-hour forecast, by 6 o'clock in the morning, that's 6 o'clock Universal Time, or 6 Zulu, Greenwich Mean Time, there ain't nothing showing up yet. Now, of course, we are expecting the snow to start sometime on Sunday and to fall through Monday. We could get a foot plus, so you'll have to tune in tomorrow to see the rest of that forecast. But at the moment, that's what we're forecasting, because we don't go beyond the 72-hour forecast. We like forecasts to be accurate. All right, so I'm going to go back to windy.com, because we're going to show a different couple of forecasts here. Because I want to show you precipitation type, because there's going to be an absolutely massive band. Watch this. So white is snow, blue is rain, and pink is ice. So check this out. Freezing rain is the deadliest condition in which to drive a vehicle, obviously. So watch this play out. So here's Friday midday. You can see ice starting to form there. Friday midday in central Texas and Oklahoma. The ground is very cold. And when you have warm air coming from the Pacific and over Baja California, mixing with cold Canadian air, you get the precipitation on the cold ground and it freezes. Shit show. Shit show. There's where it's going to start. Midday on Friday. And watch this thing spread. There you go. Friday night, it starts to hit Arkansas. Saturday morning, making its way into Mississippi. Saturday into Alabama. And it's just continuing. As you see, folks, this is suboptimal. Now it's into Tennessee. Arkansas is going to be almost completely coated with ice. Be ready for that. Expect your power to go out. Most of Tennessee is going to be iced. Half of Oklahoma is going to be iced. A third of Texas is going to be iced. Like, this is serious. This causes transmission lines and trees to come down. And then North and South Carolina, iced. Kentucky, iced. Virginia, iced. West Virginia, iced. I mean, look at that, folks. That is a disaster. That is going to be a freaking mess. So yeah, expect the power to go out. Make sure your generator is ready to go. Make sure your gas tanks are full. Make sure you got batteries. You know the routine. Everybody knows how to prep in 2026. So prep, because ice, like, get your ice skates ready, folks. It's going to be a freaking mess. A mess. Now let's check out the forecast here. We're going to show snow depth, all right? So here's the snow depth forecast. We're going to bring this through to Monday. But this is the only forecast we're going to show, because, again, this is beyond 72 hours out. We show 72-hour forecasts because those are accurate. But look at this. By Sunday midday, 7.1 inches of snow at Harrisburg. Sunday night, 10 inches of snow at Harrisburg. Monday morning, 12 inches of snow at Harrisburg. And then the snow continues. Okay, there we go. Now it starts to melt. So it looks like by Monday morning, according to this forecast, which is the Euro forecast, it's starting to subside. So temperatures are probably going to come up there, but let's don't worry about temperature. There are the snowfall totals for the Boston, D.C. corridor. All right. So that's the Euro forecast. Here's the icon model, which largely agrees, showing 10 inches of snow at Harrisburg. And here's the HRDPS model, which is showing almost nothing. Now, for some reason, this doesn't have the GFS model, so oh well, deal with it. But if I bring this ahead, here's the GFS model. So there's Monday at 1800 Zulu. And as you can see there, 12 inches of snow for most of Pennsylvania, an average of like 12 inches there, with the mountainous areas seeing 15 inches. That is one hell of a snowstorm. So it's looking more and more for sure that there's going to be big snow. But again, the jet stream is what's going to determine how far north it's able to make it, because it's coming it's trying to make a turn to the north, right? So let's take a look at the jet stream here, because we're going to show the jet stream forecast, and that is going to give us some idea as to where it will actually end up, because the jet stream has a tendency to push systems from west to east. So let's look at the forecast here for that. Now, again, we don't normally show beyond 72-hour forecasts here, but we're going to put up an 84-hour forecast just so that this matches what we just showed. All right. So there's a jet stream forecast. And as you can see, the jet stream is pretty far north. The final frame there, 84 hours in. So this is a 250 millibar winds. You see how far north the jet stream is? We have this off the Atlantic coast, this weak low out here. But ultimately what's going to act like a blocking system is this high. So the farther north this is, the more snow we'll be seeing in the Boston, D.C. corridor. I mean, I said this yesterday, the jet stream is going to determine how this plays out. So whether we get 12 inches of snow in Pennsylvania or we get 2 inches of snow in Pennsylvania, if this jet stream, this last bit of the jet stream right here, if this stays a little bit farther to the south, we might get almost nothing. We might get bupkis here in Pennsylvania, because that will hold that system to the south, in which case areas south of the Boston, D.C. corridor will get even more precip. So anyway, that's going to be the variable, the jet stream interaction. And let's get to your chats here, because I want to close this video out. It's getting pretty lengthy, pushing an hour. And let's see. Shadow used throw says it's -50 where I am today. Lol. Dude, let me see if I can find you on the map, because there aren't too many places that are -50. So let's check this out. Let's close out with nullschool.net. We'll show the existing jet streams. So these are ocean currents right now. We'll switch to wind. So there are the jet streams right now. The 250 millibar winds. And if we switch to temperature, at the surface, I might be able to figure out where you are. -50. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Canada? Oh, that's not -50. That's only -37.9. The Arctic Circle is only -40. Maybe you're in Siberia. I think that is the coldest place in the world right now. Even colder than Antarctica. Yep, that's only 45.1 below 0 Fahrenheit. And it's only 42.8 below 0 Celsius. So I'm not sure where you'd get -50. Please let us know your location in the chat. Maybe you're on Mars. Maybe you've started a Martian colony and created the biggest boondoggle in human history. All right, so let's end this thing because I've said what I wanted to say. But here are the data of the closest star, the ionized helium from GOES 19. There are your chats. I'm just going to kind of scroll down through these once again. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in. Congratulations once again on realizing the channel exists. The AI trash-free channel that we are. Bordaja says, no aurora shots from my neck of the woods, bad weather. Sorry to hear that. $16 to $17 billion generated out of Alaska. That's the whole idea behind the purchase of Greenland. You mean the oil? So, I mean, if there's oil there, that's a thing. If it's to power AI compute centers, then I could care less about it. If somebody's going to invent cheap electricity, then maybe you can have your AI utopia. But until then, forget it. And let's close this thing out. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody who has. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Once again, I'm your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, and I'm signing the heck off from the Smash News Network, least busted name of news. And until next time, may your ice skates be ready to go, and that solar wind at your back, and that AI trash absent from your, quote, social and, quote, media feeds.